So in 1998, you predicted the tech bubble, the 2002 downturn, the housing crisis, and then the sovereign debt crisis. What's your outlook now for the next 10 years?
10 years, that's a little far out. I mean, I think we're looking at this point, the sovereign debt crisis is starting in 15. By 2032, China will probably be the largest economy in the world and displace the United States for foreign capital reserves. But that's going to take some time. So 2032, that's about where we should be.
So we might get the impression that you're pretty, yesterday you said you're glad you're not a young person today. Are you pessimistic about the future?
I think that every once in a while, Thomas Jefferson said revolution is a good thing. And I think that's really what we're going to need. I mean, most of the young people, I mean, birth rates have collapsed. They don't want to get married. They don't have a confidence in the future. Unemployment among the youth is like over 60%. And now they're taking interest rates negative, so they're really screwing all the elderly, too.
What are your suggestions for young people? How should they invest their money? How should they plan? How should your grandchildren plan their future?
Largely stay away from government debt, period. That's what the real problem is. And I would highly recommend that you really spend time in looking at technology and computer science.
You've written a lot about the different cycles. There's a war cycle, there's a debt cycle, a housing cycle. Mm-hmm. What's the most important cycle we're in right now besides the government debt cycle?
It's largely the war cycle, which divides into two things. One is civil unrest, so you're seeing a lot more protests from the youth and things of that nature, which should be expected. And the other one is international, and where one country goes against another. And what I largely say, nobody fights when they're fat and happy. It correlates, very simple. It's not being, Nostradamus or clairvoyant. War does not come unless you turn the economy down. So it's very important to, in my opinion, to pay attention to this.
Do you think that there's a confluence of the cycles? Like I'm hearing about all these different patterns. I worry about maybe a new Middle Ages, like a new many-year-long stretch of problems.
There is a huge risk of what I call entering into like a dark age. And because we've gone to extremes in corruption as far as government is concerned, banking, things of this nature. It's got to, if we continue to move in that direction, you look at things like the NSA, grabbing every piece of information possible. That's them digging in their heels, and we lose our freedom. And it's for what? To protect them, not us.
And one question about unemployment and employment. So people talk about entering a post-scarcity society. Do you think we're headed there? And what does that mean for everybody needing to work or not work?
With unemployment, we have to understand that it's the private sector that creates jobs. And the more government continues to raise taxes, the less people have to start businesses. I mean, when I started, I could start with $600. I mean, try that today. It's just not feasible. So unless you have small businesses, and it's not the big companies that you have to be concerned about, they tend to shred jobs. 70% of employment is generally the small business. That's the little grocery stores and things of this nature. And if you keep raising taxes and preventing people from just doing that, then that's what creates the higher unemployment.
But do you think everybody needs to be employed in the future? I guess robots.
Well, that's a different question. Technology is advancing to the point, and it makes companies, because of the taxation level, when you start putting in minimum wages that are not practical, then what can happen is they can simply replace having teenagers at the counter at McDonald's, and you just go in, you punch what you want, and it comes out. So those types of jobs can be certainly eliminated. I pull into a parking garage, I push the button, the ticket comes out. When I want to leave, I put the ticket in, I put my credit card, and I leave, and I never see anybody. What made the Great Depression so bad was that 40% of the people were, at that point, farmers. So then the Dust Bowl came, etc. You couldn't find a job if you wanted to. I mean, Congress can't make it rain. And so that forced the people to become skilled labor. We're in one of these major changes again. And that's why I say the young should look more to not being a lawyer or something like that. You know, you have to look to technology. That's where it's moving. And if you can do that, you'll survive. You have to change your skill set, because that's where the evolution of the economy is moving.
And there are people who are also, I think you had said something about currency will all go electronic soon.
Yes.
So this is for the people who maybe don't quite understand currency as well as you do. Don't we already have electronic currency? What do you mean by going electronic?
By going electronic, meaning that they will eliminate entirely all paper currency. That is the check against negative interest rates, because if they take interest rates negative, say 5% or 10%, you can say, well, no, I don't want to pay that. And you'll go to the bank, say, I want all my money. And the only way to withdraw from a bank is if there's paper money. If it's electronic, what are you going to do? Say, put it on the CD-ROM? I mean, you can't withdraw the money then. So moving electronic means these people believe they will end any bank panics. But it also means that they can tax whatever they want.
We have also a question about, I don't know if you've been following the protests right now in Baltimore, and then previously also in Ferguson. Do you see this as a growing cycle? Like, is this a sign of things to come, of revolution?
I think, you know, the actions in Ferguson and Baltimore, for example, it used to be in the 60s, it was against the blacks. Now everybody's realizing it's against everybody. The police have become more or less paramilitary units. They don't have the same respect for the people that they used to have years ago. The days of Norman Rockwell and the kittens caught in the tree, you know. Today they would shoot it out. So it's just not there. I mean, I have friends from Ukraine, when they would come to the United States and they would see a policeman, they immediately cringe. Well, Americans are starting to get that way too.
And what about the Eurozone? What do you think will happen in the next 2 years?
There's a high probability that it's going to break up, because Brussels doesn't understand currency, and insisting that Greece pay back debts, and nobody's paying. So we need reform. We really need reform.
So what impact the UK leaving the European Union will have, or would have? What do you think about that?
I think they should. Margaret Thatcher was correct. This should be a trade union, not a political union. And once you start with what Brussels has done, is they built a bureaucracy. You're paying people 400,000 euros for part-time jobs, and then the commission doesn't even have to listen if they vote. So what's the whole purpose of all this stuff? It's very much like Rome and the Republic. At the end, it just became an oligarchy.
And I think one last question. If you could pass one law or add one regulation to reduce the amplitude of the cycles, as you talked about last night, what would that be?
I would think that the most important law would be the term limits for politicians, and two, that nobody should be allowed to be in charge of something without qualifications.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.